Hey there, I'm just a guy having fun out at the range. Let's go shoot something. Today I'm out at the Los Alamos Sportsman's Club rifle range. I have a new firearm. This is a Savage 110T chambered in 6.5 Creedmoor, my first 6.5 Creedmoor. I've sent a couple of rounds downrange already just to get it roughly sighted in. Today I want to do a little bit more sighting in and checking of accuracy with a variety of different factory loads of ammunition. As I said, this is my first experience with 6.5 Creedmoor, so I'm exploring a little bit of the breadth of cartridges that are out there, all the way from the 95 grain Hornady VMAX up to 156 grain from S&B, and then a bunch of 140 grain options kind of in the middle. I'm going to see at 100 yards if I can tell any difference in the accuracy of any of those particular rounds, and we'll see how accurate I can be with this rifle. So enough talking, let's get to shooting. I've got 5 rounds of S&B 140 grain full metal jacket boat tail. It's their standard bulk stuff. It was the cheapest stuff. Paid $1.05 per round for that. So we're going to see how it groups. I'll zoom in over here so you guys can actually see the target. Oh, beautiful. All right, we'll see if you guys can actually see the hits on target, and we'll see if I can get a decent grouping with this guy. I'm going to start on the lower target, the big red rectangle in the middle of the bottom target, just to get an idea where we're going. A little high right, not sure if I pulled that or not. Huh. So I'm not super happy with that grouping. Normally I can get them all touching just in the little bit I was shooting earlier. Yeah, I'm not super excited about those. Those are a little more open than I'd like. It may be just the size of the target. Let's take another 5 shots. Yeah, and let's see if we can do a little better. I'm going to go ahead and put these up on the top left. Start doing my testing. I am still a little bit off. Not perfectly sighted in, but I have a feeling each of these rounds is going to have a little bit different point of impact, so it may not matter as much. Alright, so 5 more of the S&B tactical ammunition. Sounds great. 140 grain. Alright, let's see if we can do a better job. Well, it feels better. We'll see if it is better. Oh goodness, that was a fire. Better. I think that was more me than the wind. Okay. So, let's take a look at that. Yeah, okay, so I've got one high and one right, but the other 3 are touching in that middle. That's what I was kind of expecting. The wind is coming pretty much straight from behind me. for the most part, which is kind of nice because it doesn't impact the bullet as much as a side to side. So yeah, I'm going to call those 2 that are outside of the bullseye. That's just me. I'm not as good as the rifle, but 3 touching at 100 yards is what I expect to be able to do with all of these guys. And that's what I want to know, is if there's any particular set or a cartridge that's just inherently more or less accurate. So these 95 grain, these are Hornady VMAX. So they're pretty fancy. They've got the polymer tip. You can tell they're a significantly shorter projectile. If you're not familiar with the 6.5 Creedmoor, yeah, see, a little bit shorter, a little bit lighter. The 6.5 Creedmoor is obviously a 6.5 millimeter diameter bullet. It is an incredibly flat shooting and very accurate, inherently accurate round that's been used for competition for several years now. Some people are saying that it's on its way out, that it's fallen out of favor. 6.5 PRC is replacing it. So why am I getting into it now? Well, because I like the idea of it. One of the biggest advantages of 6.5 Creedmoor over other rounds like .308, which is also a very common target round, is the fact that it stays supersonic past 1,000 yards. So if you're familiar with ballistics and how that changes when you change the speed of the bullet, so if you go from supersonic to subsonic, that transonic area, because of the way the bullet is breaking, or the projectile is breaking the air, when it changes, that causes instability in the projectile. So if you can stay above supersonic, you're going to have a more stable projectile all the way down to your target past 1,000 yards. I'm not shooting at 1,000 yards, I'm shooting at 100, but someday I'd like the opportunity to shoot at 1,000 yards, and this was a cartridge that's widely known for being inherently accurate, and so I decided to go 6.5 Creedmoor. Let's see how 95 grain VMAX works at 100 yards. I expect these ones to hit, let's see, a bit lower, because we should still be rising going out to 100, but we'll see if these hit higher or lower. I'm not going to adjust my scope at all for any of these different cartridges. I'm going to keep the same point of aim, and we'll just see where they group based on that. And maybe at 100 yards it won't make any difference. Alright, so I'm going top, middle, bullseye, 95 grain VMAX. High. Oh, I thought that one was going to be dead on. That one's off to the right. Okay, so I got 2 at 12 o'clock. I got 1 at 10:30. 1 high 11 o'clock. That was my first one that I think I might have pulled. Not a stellar example of marksmanship. So that VMAX ammunition, 95 grain, cost me $1.75 a piece. It definitely feels lighter than the 140, though I will say with the muzzle brake that I have on this guy, shooting this, even with the 140, and I shot a couple of 156s, doesn't feel much more than shooting a 223, an AR-15. You've got a heavier rifle than the AR, obviously, and so that's helping with some of that perceived recoil. Nice big rubber buttstock on this Savage, but it's actually surprisingly light recoil compared to like a 308. I've shot some bolt-action 308s that are just painful on the shoulder. This is extremely mild, extremely mild. We're going to move on to some 125 grain Winchester white box, another cheap one at $1.15 a round. These ones are open tip. 5 rounds of Winchester target and practice. This is the top left bullseye, sorry, top right bullseye, 125 grain Winchester white box. Okay, so those are both to the right, but they're spread a little. Goodness, I'm just walking around that bullseye. Take half a moment. There we go. Okay, so we got a decent group there, about 5:30. Yeah, I think I was starting to get a little jumpy, but those are a little better. So those aren't too bad. Feel about the same as the 95 grain. Yeah, I particularly like those three at the end that are all touching. That's what I'm going for, but I want them all. I want all five touching. All right, so let's move on. We're into the 140s again, which is kind of where we started. 140 seems to be the normal for the 6.5 Creedmoor. Now, so these are another Winchester option, but these are premium. They're $1.25 a piece, so a whole 10 cents more than the white box. These ones are also open tip. So bottom left bullseye, 140 grain Winchester, select grade. And that was right where my crosshair was. Oh goodness, why is that one so low? Must be the wind. That was even lower. I felt that one was pretty good. Okay, so all of those felt good, but that's pretty open. So I don't know if that's a round that's not so great for this rifle, or if my barrel's getting so dirty it's starting to throw my shots off. We'll see if the rest of these open up, but not super excited about that one. All right, up next, what do we got here? Oh, these are Federal Premium Sierra Match King. So these should be flawlessly accurate at $1.65 a round. Let's see how the 140 grain Sierra Match King do. So other than the weight differences between each of these different cartridges, the bullet shape, the projectile shape, is the other big difference. And why does that matter so much? Well, with like the 95 grain, and I looked at these extra low drag Hornady, the taper on the projectile is smoothed out further, and so the full diameter of the projectile doesn't happen until further back on the projectile. And what that means is with the cartridge sitting in the chamber, there's going to be some leap of that projectile before it engages the rifling and starts turning. So the different shapes of the projectile will have different amounts of distance between that, between the rifling and that full diameter of the projectile. That's going to affect accuracy. So that's part of what I'm trying out, is which of these cartridges have just the right amount of taper on the projectile so that they meet that rifling correctly. All right, Federal Premium Gold Medal Sierra Match King 140 grain open tip. All right, so this is going to be bottom middle bullseye. Low left. Also a little low left, but pretty close to the first one. Oh, I think I pulled that one to the right. That was me. Interesting. I've got two at, let's see, 9 o'clock and 8 o'clock. Oh, there it is. It's at 6 o'clock. Yeah, there it is. I can't see it for some reason. That's weird. Yeah, so 6 o'clock and then dot on 9 o'clock. So that's a little bit better, certainly, than the Winchester that we just shot. But still not quite the grouping that I'm expecting, and I am wondering how much of that is just me and how much of that is the rifle or the ammunition combination. Up next is the Hornady 140 grain ELD match, and I believe ELD stands for extra low drag. These ones, I can tell the taper goes a lot further back for the 140 grain. The other ones have the taper kind of stop a little bit sooner. These are also polymer tipped, and I think these were my most expensive ones. Yeah, $1.85 per round. So we'll see if the extra 80 cents over the standard 140 is worthwhile or not. Okay. Hornady 140 grain extra low drag match ELD. And we're going to be going at the bottom right bullseye. Got an 11 o'clock hit right on the side of the red. Bullseye. Just a little high on the bull. Pulled that one. Yep, 5 o'clock. Yeah, that was me. 5 o'clock outside, and that was all me. Not sure. Did that one touch the exact same 5 o'clock spot? That all me again? I don't know. Okay, so that's kind of more what I'm looking for. 3 touching across the top between 11 and midnight. Yeah, I think I got 3 at the top and 2 at the bottom. But those 3 up at the top are nicely grouped. Very nicely grouped. Okay, well, I'm not sure if it's worth an extra 80 cents a round, but it is definitely better, and if I was shooting at longer ranges, that extra low drag would probably be critical for maintaining some accuracy. So I like those. I don't know how many of them I'll buy and shoot, but yeah, those are pretty good. Alright, so we're back to some standard 140 grain. So these are also S&Bs, but they're not the tactical, they're just standard S&B. I think these are soft points too. Let's see, yeah, so these ones are soft points, which for shooting steel is preferable. Okay, 140 grain S&B soft points. And for these ones, I think I'm going to aim at the left dot on the big target below. So left dot. And I hit said big dot. Nice. Ooh, 9 o'clock, just a little bit to the left. So a little bit further to the left, 9 o'clock. Pulled that one low. Yep. Alright, so that's 8 o'clock or so. Not as bad as I thought I pulled it. Okay, a little bit high. Yeah, so that's a little bit wider. See, again, that's kind of the group that I'm looking for, but I want them all to touch. But not too bad. Those ones are pretty close to accurate. It makes sense. They probably use very similar style projectiles between the tactical and the soft point. All right, so those are 140 grain. And then lastly, we have some S&B 156 grain soft points. So these ones are heavier than the standard. We'll see at 100 yards if we can tell any difference. Okay, we're going to go for the right dot on that lower target. Okay, it looks like we're about an inch low. I pulled that one a little bit. Also an inch low, but off to the left, but I think part of that was me. Okay, kind of splitting the difference. Definitely lower though. So there's a difference in velocity. Okay. There we go. So again, a pretty similar group. Yeah, I stacked two of those there. So a pretty similar group to the other S&B, but honestly, at $1.15 for all those, it was $1.05 for the tactical. Dominoes, woohoo! But yeah, $1.15. At least for me, at 100 yards, there's not really an appreciable difference. I'm tempted to try the ELDs again, aiming at one of these smaller targets. So I'm just going to put 3. See if the smaller target makes any difference. If I'm a little bit less wobbly. Okay, 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock. Like also about 10 o'clock, a little bit closer to the bullseye. There it is. Okay, stacked on top of that first one. That's not too bad. Yeah, no, those ELDs are definitely more accurate. So that's interesting because that means that the edge of that projectile being further back is not as bad of a thing. So I don't know, you guys are not going to be able to see it with the camera way over there, but this projectile is full diameter, about a half the way between the tip and the projectile. This guy doesn't reach full diameter for about 2/3 of that distance, so it's set back almost 1/8 of an inch from where this guy reaches full diameter. That ELD has a significantly longer taper. And I was kind of expecting that to have a negative impact on accuracy just because it has to jump further before it starts engaging. But it doesn't seem to be a problem. So, woohoo. Okay. A couple of big takeaways. The Savage 110T. The bolt sucks. It's absolute garbage. It does not move particularly smoothly back and forth. Like, see, if I put some side pressure on it, I can actually bind it so that it doesn't actually slide forward and backwards. I've had some feeding issues with the magazine, but once the bolt is in and locked, everything else about this rifle I absolutely love. It's incredibly accurate. I already mentioned the trigger is the most amazing trigger I think I've ever had. Even better than the Mark II, the 22 long rifle Savage that I have. It's extremely light. This one's a little bit scary light in that if I'm not really careful, just putting some pressure on my finger can get the gun to go off. I like the button safety on the back here for that reason. So it's a 3-position safety. In the safe position, you cannot open the bolt and you cannot press the trigger. So if you had a loaded magazine and you were going through a field, maybe hunting or something like that, and you didn't want to have a round chambered for safety reasons, you can have that and you can't accidentally chamber a round. In the middle position, you can work the bolt, but you can't press the trigger. Again, thinking about this from a hunting standpoint or being out in the field, if I want to be able to chamber a round, still walking around the field and not have to worry about when I'm chambering my round, maybe I'm chambering around in a parking lot or something where I don't want the gun to go off, having that middle position where I can work the bolt, but there's no opportunity for that trigger to be pressed or for that round to go off, I like that a lot. And then that last position allows both the bolt to be worked and, oh, it is just such a light trigger. It's crazy. It's crazy. So crazy. Yeah, I love that trigger. It's amazing. 20 MOA rail, so I did have to adjust my scope way down to shoot at 100 yards. It is designed to shoot much further than 100 yards, but there was enough adjustment in my scope in order to get down to that. I added the, I think it's a Hellfire suppressor. It was over $180, but it has really tamed the recoil. I tried some shots without it, and it's more than a 223 without the muzzle brake, but with the muzzle brake, oh my goodness, does it just shoot very smoothly. So all in all, great package. I don't know why this bolt is so bad. It's like it's super loose in the rear here, and so it's just got a ton of play, but as soon as it engages those locking lugs, then it feels very nice and smooth. And if you go straight, it's okay, but yeah. Anyway, well, that's my 2 cents. I'm going to play around with this just a little bit more. Hope you guys enjoyed coming along on testing some various ammunitions. We're going to save the expensive ammo for other days. We don't need to do more of that today. But have a great day and stay safe.